big bikes, and mean-looking riders on top of them. That's how most people view motorcycle clubs. They're fascinating to watch, but you wouldn't dare walk up to them and strike up a conversation. However, many were quick to point out that despite how mean-looking these bikers are, their hearts, especially for kids, are mush. Not only that, a mother whose kid was bullied in school and received no help from the school administrators and police sought out the help of a biker club, who in turn turned up in full support, escorting the young boy to school. They claimed to send a message of support to kids victims of bullying. While these kind-hearted people may have ended the stigma against bikers, others have done nothing but live up to their image. Mean and ruthless. In fact, others took it to the next level and started a criminal enterprise. Yeah, you heard that right. Meet the Hells Angels Motorcycle Club, an organization described by its president Ralph Sonny Berger as a bunch of fun-loving guys who just ride motorcycles. However, research published on the U.S. Department of Justice Office and Justice Programs website shows that the Hells Angels are involved in murder, the manufacturing and distribution of methamphetamine, the distribution of cocaine, heroin, and marijuana, the purchase and sale of firearms, and other criminal activities. Simply put, the Hells Angels Motorcycle Club is actually the Hells Angels criminal enterprise. These are some of the members of the Hells Angels Motorcycle Club in court. 1. Hells Angels Club Berkshire Chapter. In 2014, a ranking member of the Hells Angels Motorcycle Club was convicted of killing 3 Pittsfield men. According to prosecutors, the 3 were slain so they couldn't testify against him. What a great strategy, huh? Not. What happened? Well, let's go back to 2009, when Adam Lee Hall beat David Glazer with a baseball bat in July. Who's David Glazer? He's one of the 3 murder victims pinned on Hells Angels Motorcycle Club member Adam Lee Hall. Basically, Glazer was set to become a witness against Hall's criminal activities. From 2009 to 2011, there were supposedly strings of confrontations, some violent, between Hall and Glazer. Fast forward to 2011, a few weeks before he was to testify against Hall, Glazer and his roommate Frampton and their friend Chadwell disappeared from Glazer's Pittsfield apartment, where they stayed to wait out Tropical Storm Irene. 2 weeks later, their dismembered bodies were found buried in a trench in Brackett. I don't understand how even extremely evil people can do something like this. During the trial, David Casey, later charged as an accessory in the case, told the jury how Hall described how he and his accomplices shot, stabbed, and gutted the victims and then chopped up their bodies. And he's even proud of it? It wouldn't surprise me if he's the next in line to Satan's position. In 2014, Hampton Superior Court jury found Adam Lee Hall guilty of 3 counts of murder and other charges including kidnapping and intimidating a witness. According to reports, Hall hung his head as the verdicts were read while members and victims' families and police embraced. A few days after that, Adam Lee Hall was sentenced to 3 consecutive life sentences for a 2011 triple murder in Berkshire County. He more than deserved that. After this incident, you would have thought the motorcycle club would incorporate stricter rules for its members to avoid this kind of tragedy. But no, sir. It appears that this was just the tip of the iceberg. 2. Hells Angels Club Rhode Island Chapter. In February of last year, Joseph Lancia, who ascended to the top position of the Rhode Island chapter of the Hells Angels biker gang about 4 years ago, was placed in handcuffs, led from a Providence Superior Courtroom to begin serving a 5-year prison sentence. For what? For a 2019 shooting involving a former prospective club member. So what happened in 2019? In June of that year, a shooting occurred outside the Providence Hells Angels clubhouse on Wendell Street in the West End when a former prospective member drove by in a truck. Richard Starnio, once a prospect to join the biker club, was said to be involved in an ongoing dispute with Lancia. Still, that's not a reason to intentionally hurt the person. According to an attorney for the state, there had been a disagreement between Lancia and the driver. Further, the Attorney General's office shared that Lancia, while standing on the sidewalk, drew a .25 caliber semi-automatic handgun and fired 1 shot at the truck. On January 21, 2022, Joseph Lancia entered a plea of nolo contendere to assault with a dangerous weapon, possession of a pistol without a license, and assault for the purpose of causing unconsciousness. When asked about the change of his not guilty plea to no contest, Lancia's attorney said,
"We thought it was in his best interest to do so, and he wanted to put these matters behind him."
By January 23, 2022, Lancia was sentenced to 5 years in prison for felony assault and battery, as well as carrying a gun without a license. In addition,
there is a no contact order for the protection of Richard Starnino.
Well, at least no life was taken in the incident, unlike what happened in this next case. 3. Hells Angel Club Sonoma County Chapter. The Sonoma County Hells Angels Club, formed in 1972, makes some of its income from selling shirts, hats, sweatshirts, and other swag bearing the club's logo. What's more, they have sponsored toy drives for children. What an upstanding group of individuals, right? However, this good image of the club was shattered in 2014 when former Hells Angels Sonoma County member Joel Sylvia was murdered. The investigation, mind you, was an 8-year investigation into the Sonoma Club involving the DOJ, the Santa Rosa Police Department, and the California Highway Patrol. That's almost a freaking decade. By 2017, 11 members of the Hells Angels were indicted for conspiracy, which the DOJ said involved murder, drug dealing, assault, robbery, extortion, illegal possession of firearms, and obstruction of justice. Jonathan John Nielsen, Russell Rusty Taylor Ott, and Brian Wayne Wendt were all part of the sweep and have been convicted of killing Joel Sylvia, a member whom they've determined had been creating problems for the motorcycle club, according to the DOJ. Again, that's no reason to harm and even kill a person. According to federal prosecutors, Nelson arranged for Sylvia's murder with Ott. The deed went down in Fresno on July 15, 2014, when Ott drove Sylvia there on the pretense of his needing to fight with the Fresno chapter's president, Wendt, in order to resolve his problems with the club. Upon arrival, Wendt shot Sylvia in the head. The next day, Sylvia's body was incinerated at the local crematorium. Fast forward to 2022. 2 members of the Hells Angels Motorcycle Club in Sonoma County, Jonathan Nelson and Russell Ott, were convicted in federal court of murder in the aid of racketeering, along with a third angel, Brian Wendt, from Fresno. According to the DOJ, the 3 faced a mandatory life sentence in prison. Yep, they deserve that. You know what else is deserved? You hitting the subscribe button, so make sure to do that. And speaking of life in prison, no one, at least among all these cases, deserves it more than him. 4. Hells Angels Montreal Chapter. Maurice "Mom" Boucher, former president of the Hells Angels Montreal Chapter, was a convicted murderer, reputed drug trafficker, and outlaw biker. After joining the Hells Angels Montreal Chapter, Boucher created a group within the Angels called the Nomads. Aspiring Nomad members had to commit a murder to qualify, to ensure that no undercover police officers would infiltrate the club. No, they don't deserve to be called a club when they're nothing but an organized crime group. In an attempt to destabilize the Quebec justice system, he ordered the killing of 2 prison guards, Diane Levine and Pierre Rondeau, who were random victims whose deaths were aimed at intimidating anyone who might be thinking of testifying against the gang. Unfortunately, Boucher was acquitted in 1998 after a first trial, but was arrested again in 2000. He then underwent a second trial, where in 2002, Boucher was convicted of ordering the murders of the 2 Quebec prison guards. Now listen to this. Boucher grinned as the verdict was read out. He was found guilty of attempted murder and 2 counts of first-degree murder. Well, what should I have expected from a psychopath like him? Still, Boucher got an automatic life sentence with no chance of parole for 25 years. However, being behind bars didn't stop Boucher from continuing his criminal activities. In 2015, at the Stéon des Plaines prison, Boucher discussed with his daughter Alexandra Munoz a plot to kill former mafia lieutenant Reynold Desjardins. In the video made public in 2018, Boucher spoke with his daughter, largely in code, about Desjardins, a former lieutenant in the Rizzuto crime family. While filmed by 2 cameras and recorded by a microphone, father and daughter often dropped or whispered words as Boucher reminded his daughter that they were being recorded. Perhaps it's true what they say, that psychopaths are extremely smart. But not that smart, since in the same year, Boucher was sentenced to 10 years in prison after pleading guilty to conspiring to kill former rival high-ranking mafia member Reynold Desjardins. This sentence was meant to run concurrently with the life sentence he's serving for the 1997 murders of 2 prison guards. Unfortunately, in July of last year, Maurice Boucher, who is regarded as one of the most infamous criminals in Quebec history, died at the age of 69 after a battle with throat cancer. Yes, his death is unfortunate, as he didn't deserve the salvation brought by death. He deserved to rot in prison with his debilitating illness. To find out who else deserves to rot in prison for what they did, make sure to watch this.